The Echo Chamber, brought to you by The Holmes Report and produced by the international broadcast specialist Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.
Hello everyone and welcome to the Echo Chamber. I'm Maya Pawinska-Sims, the Holmes Report's EMEA editor, and I'm here in London today with a duo of passionate practitioners, Nicky Reggazoni and George Blizzard, co-founders of virtual international PR agency, The PR Network. Welcome, ladies, to the studio.
Hello, hello.
Hi there. Thank you, Maya.
Nicky, George, thank you for coming along for a chat. Tell us a bit, George, about how you guys met.
Well, we actually met on a hen do, would you believe it? We both sussed out that we worked in PR, and as I've learned 16 years later, Nikki often has a few footwear issues. After a lot of dancing on the dance floor, we bonded over a bit of glass in a foot. But anyway, we got talking, we stayed in touch. You came to work with me where I was currently working at Byte Communications back in the day doing tech PR. And over that period, probably worked together for about a year or so. We just created the idea probably over a few glasses of wine post-work.
So, Nicky, what prompted the idea of doing something that wasn't a traditional PR agency?
Well, I'd already sort of taken a step off the traditional agency career ladder. I mean, I'd been freelancing for a little while. I freelanced with George at Byte, as she mentioned. And I noticed a few things on my travels out around and about the agency world and kind of working for myself, in that there seemed to be a real kind of appetite and need on the client side to access senior freelance, experienced consultant expertise in certain areas. And also I was going around and meeting lots of freelancers like me who'd chosen for whatever reason to go it on their own, didn't want to work for anybody else for whatever reason. Maybe they had a family or they just had other things they wanted to pursue. And I thought, this is quite interesting. You know, maybe rather than setting up another agency, you know, there are many of amazing agencies out there, and particularly in the tech world where George and I both come from, we could set up a different kind of business which would pull together the fantastic array of freelance consultant experience out there, pull those people together as a kind of united force and provide access to that resource to clients in a range of different markets. George had actually just had her first baby, was kind of apprehensive about continuing in the traditional agency world, and we wanted to do something together. So really, as George said, we kind of cooked up this idea over a glass or two in a bar in Earlsfield, and we thought, let's set up an agency with a different kind of model. We didn't want to have lots of employees, we didn't want to go down that road, and we wanted something that would work really well with families. Obviously George had a baby, I didn't at that point, certainly intended to. And it really just went from there, and it kind of snowballed. We tested the idea on a few potential clients, people that we knew and trusted, and people thought, yeah, it's a fantastic idea. And we just set up the business, and I thought we'll call it the PR Network. It's what it says on the tin. It's a network of consultants that we know that come to us on recommendation from people we know and trust. And our client network is very strong as well. We'll put the two together and see what happens. And that was nearly 15 years ago.
15 years ago. So what shape is the business in now? How are you doing?
Pretty good shape, yeah. So we bill about, I think last count 2.2 million this year. We have what we call our network, which is essentially a freelance network. We call them associates. And just to clarify on that point, so these aren't people who come in and out, do the odd bit of freelancing, and then go travelling. These are people who are really grounded in their industry. They're senior. They've got their own enviable black book of contacts. They're actually go-to experts, probably around 15 years plus experience. To date, we probably have 1,800 of those worldwide.
Oh, wow.
And if you think about the scale of that network, I mean, we just started with just two of us when we set up in 2005. But we are, I think last year, was it 30 countries we worked in? Yeah. So we go way beyond the UK. Yes, the UK is our heartland for those senior consultants, but we work with people Mexico, across Asia Pacific, but Europe and UK certainly is probably where we're best known.
So it's properly international.
Yeah. Properly.
So how does it work then? A client comes to you or you in a brief. How do you work out which out of those many associates are the best put together for that client?
So, I think over 14 years it's been about finding that perfect fit. And I suppose that's where we really differ. We have a kind of little bit of alchemy that goes on there in terms of how we know to make that work. We obviously have a very good database, but it's essentially we have this this team, I suppose, that work with us of partners, that we're all very much ex-agency. So we know how to build a good team. We know how to manage a good team. But yes, it's down to skill fit. But I think equally important is that cultural fit. So understanding how that would work best with the clients. We're able, being kind of practicing practitioners ourselves, we're able to interrogate that brief as well really well to kind of really understand. We're essentially building a virtual agency or virtual team, I suppose, for that client. Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think the benefit of our model is that we're not confined to the people on our payroll. We've got this extensive network of 1,800 plus consultants all across the world. We can really look at what the brief is and match that to the people in our network that will best fit at any one time. So I think a lot of our clients like to work with us and have worked with us for a very long time because we can flex that up and down. So it might be that 1 month they need support in a certain area, and then another month they need something else. Perhaps they've got an event going on, or there's a big launch, or they need to halt the consumer side of things and focus on something else. For example, we work a lot with Zipcar and we can handle everything for them with their agency of record in the UK. We do all their B2C, all their B2B, all their public affairs. And that account has very much changed over the 6 years that we've had it, and we've kind of adapted the team that we have. So I think we've had, I guess between 5 and 10 different consultants working on it at any one time. And we just add people and take them away depending on the brief. It doesn't have to work on a set retainer basis. It's very much sort of project led, which we can do because we've got a low fixed cost base.
And internationally, I mean, it does sound like you've got a proper international network there. How does that work? I mean, are clients quite receptive to the idea that you can really deliver on an international brief?
Yes, I believe so. Yes, I think that's been a huge growth for us in the last at least 5 years. I think we've looked at that really heavily. We're working with agencies and companies in the US that want to come over to Europe and take it beyond the UK, particularly with Brexit being an issue that's becoming increasingly important. And we're able to help people who don't necessarily have boots on the ground, I suppose, looking at other regions. We're able to make that budget be quite flexible. Again, Nikki talks about it in terms of sector and experience, but also geography. So you can move that budget from one country to another dependent on where the priority is, whether it's a launch or whether there's a quieter period in some European countries, for example. So that works really well, I think, and I see that growing more and more.
Yeah, I think it's a big focus for us this year and beyond. And I think I would just add to that for clients or prospective clients that are looking at going into a new market and testing the water. Our model is a fantastic way to do that, because rather than having to go out into different countries and review and meet a series of agencies and then make a selection only to do perhaps a small project or work in that market for a little while and then see whether it's worked or not, you can hire a freelancer through us, have it managed via our hub of client service directors, see how it goes, and then continue or pull back as you need to. We did a project like that for Via GoGo a few years ago, and we did it in very diverse markets, the Netherlands, Japan, and a couple of other countries around the World Cup, and it worked really, really well. And the head of comms there just said it was a no-brainer, because otherwise she would have had to go out to those 4 countries and go through a whole agency review process. We work with agencies in that way as well as partners. So some of the big agencies, ad agencies and PR agencies, they might not have boots on the ground in certain random countries, but they want to be able to support their clients. So rather than go out and try and find, through an agency network or find a new partner, they can simply tap into our freelance network, and we will kind of handle the legwork of finding the right partner and sort of oversee the project.
And that hub piece you talked about has been really crucial in our growth as well. So being able to act as another kind of a virtual PR manager, virtual EMEA PR manager for those clients, and just help run all of those disparate countries, because people want scale now and they want it really quickly, and you need that extra person to oversee that. So it's not just having those people on the ground, but also that person overseeing that. And that's certainly been a growth area for us, with a couple of wins last year, for sure.
So there's the agility and flexibility for you guys and for your clients. We talked about cost effectiveness a little bit, Nikki. Do people assume you're cheaper? Are you cheaper? I mean, are you more cost effective than a
don't
big
like the word
global
cheap,
network?
Maya, obviously. We are.
I'm not saying
we are better value.
Yeah.
We would like to say, we say we're better value, in that through our model.
That's why you're in PR and I'm not.
Exactly. We know how to put it best. But you can obviously decide to make of that what you want. But we like to think that with our model, clients are accessing senior consultancy at not a fraction of the price, but certainly less than they would have to pay if they went to a traditional agency. Not that we're doing those agencies down, as I say, we work with a lot of them as partners, and sometimes that model is going to work better for certain kinds of client. But in some situations, we certainly are competitive on price.
Absolutely. I say that comes in less and less as a question, I'd say as well. It's more just that fit. I think we've just got really good over 14 years of building a bespoke team, and that's just worked really well for us. And plus the market's changed. There's a lot of senior consultants out there. There's more scope. There's more people available who are really, really good at what they do and don't want the constraints of a normal 9 to 5. So that's really helped us grow as well, I'd say.
So as well as going down well with the clients, it's going down well with the there's more senior freelancers around in the market, aren't there?
Yeah.
What's that down to? Are all of them women who have had kids and can't get back into the agency world or don't want to go back into agency world?
I'd say that's very much an assumption that probably isn't fair. Yes, obviously Nikki and I are two of those people that started off like that, but I'd say as more and more people just, the world's changing, people want something different out of how they operate. We talk a lot about flexible working. Nikki and I have always talked about that because we work very flexibly, but it's blended working really. People want their life to blend with their work. They want more say about who they work for, when they work, where they work, and the talent drain is moving out of London. So, and we do lots, we talk about international, but actually regionally as well. We're able to have a really nice overview of the whole of the UK, and we do that for some clients where we're able to get people in store, for example, if they're a retailer, but all over the UK. I say the market, obviously, when we started, there was a recession. Yeah. Which I think changed the landscape a little bit, and we've capitalised on that. But more and more people are choosing how they operate. We talked briefly before this about the virtual PR agency group we run for the PRCA, but there's a burgeoning growth in this type of business. We're lucky we've been doing it for 14 years, but there's many coming up now through the ranks, and it's a new model. And there's a new opportunity. Yeah.
What's the size of the market now? I mean, tell me a little bit about that PRCA group that you're leading.
Yeah, we really on the back of sort of what we felt we were seeing in terms of a change in our business. As George mentioned earlier, we billed 2.2 million last year. That was a 30% growth on the previous year. We won, I think, 5 large accounts, very large accounts, big brands last year. And we thought this is interesting. We see that there's a change in the market. Clients are becoming more receptive to our model, our way of working. There are various reasons for that. And so we went to Francis Ingham at the PRCA and Steve Miller, and we talked about this, and we said this is quite interesting. We really want to try and develop this virtual agency model as a formal category within the industry. It's difficult to see, what the total billings might be because it is still a burgeoning sort of subgroup, if you like. But we went out there, I think, probably almost a year ago, and we launched the group last November. But sort of summer last year, we went out there and we said, look, we've got the support of the PRCA. We're going to set up a new group. If you are running a virtual agency, and that does mean different things to different people.
There's quite strict criteria I noticed on the page. It's got to be. It's not just about freelancers and sole traders and a couple of grand turnover.
It can't be really. We did set quite strict criteria with the PRCA because we either want this to be a group that where the individual agency owners can help and support each other in the kind of development of the sector. So we set those criteria as must have a sort of a minimum turnover of a certain amount, must be working with clients in a certain way, harnessing freelance support rather than, the model which is very common of one freelancer harnessing, or bringing on another to service one client. So now we have, in terms of the size of the space, we had interest from, I'd say, between 15 to 20 people, of which we selected 12. So there are actually 13 members of the group. George and I are co-chairs, so we're the 2, and then we have 12 other agencies. Okay. One is Sarah Waddington, as she is now, who runs her own consultancy business. Another is Angie Wiles, who runs the Difference Collective. She set up Virgo Health, so she's healthcare. We're a really broad sort of group in terms of industry expertise and backgrounds, but really everybody is very passionate about this quite different way of working, harnessing technology and a disparate workforce to deliver excellent results to clients with no sort of compromise in terms of the opportunities to the people. They're working where they want, when they want, or to the clients in terms of the consultancy they're getting, because it is first rate.
Tell me about the technology. How do you work together in that sense? I mean, that must have made this whole enterprise a hell of a lot easier. I mean, we work as part of a global team, so we have various tech tools to make the Holmes Report work as a global publication. What do you use?
Oh, we've tried everything.
It's really simple. I mean, we use kind of video conferencing facilities. We use, obviously, our phone and our Macs are in our bags at all time. We get together very regularly as well, although, yes, we are based virtually and we don't have a physical office, a physical kind of shop front. But it's all about the culture more than the technology, I'd say. The technology enables it, but it's about how we communicate regularly, how we see each other. So even if, Eileen, who works one of our teams, she's in Cornwall, but we see her probably every day because she's on a video call. So, the technology has made that culture much easier to set up. But,
we're probably using the same kind of tools and technologies that most agencies are. Yeah. Obviously, with our team, we have a core team there are 7 of us, 7 permanent partners and employees of the company, and then supported by this 1,800 plus people all around the world. Okay. Technology is key, but we do try and look into the whites of each other's eyes as well.
Okay, that's a tiny bit scary. Stuck in a basement studio with Nikki, looking into the whites of my eyes. George, no, stop. Tell me a bit about other benefits for clients. So we've talked about agility, flexibility, value, we're saying, not that you're cheap. And tell me about other benefits. Why do clients love working with you? Did you do some research last year into the credibility and the receptiveness of clients?
Yeah, that was really part of this sort of, as I said, this kind of sense we were getting that, the market had turned a corner, and whereas for the first, it sounds like a long time, 10 years or so, we were getting a lot of questions from clients about, but how does it work if you're not in the same building? They didn't really get that often teams aren't in the same place all the time anyway. But how does it work if you're not not using employees? I think those sort of issues seem to be moving away, and clients were getting over them, if you like. So along with setting up the group, we thought we'll commission a piece of research and just see whether, we're right in this sort of sense that things are changing a little bit. So we did a piece of... we just did a sentiment check with Imogen Osborne, who runs the Pulse business. We surveyed, I think, around 1,500 communications directors, heads of comms in loads of different sectors across the world about whether they understood what we meant by virtual agencies, whether they thought it would be a credible choice for their business now or in the future. And 61% of them said that, yes, they would. So that was obviously very pleasing for us and sort of backed up what we were seeing, that hopefully this wasn't a flash in the pan. We just happened to win 5 massive accounts in 1 year and then maybe never again. That was.
And why do you think that sentiment is changing? And what are the barriers to that being an even higher percentage of that cohort that you surveyed?
I just think the world's changing. I think people do work differently. I think the whole workforce is much more flexible. I mean, you can open a paper any day of the week and it's the future of work. And so the workforce has moved on. People are much more aware of how they want to work and how they want to operate. So therefore, it matters less. If you look at your PR agency as one of your suppliers, it matters less to you how they operate. Certainly, that used to be a question: how's it work? We never get asked that anymore. And management consultancies, the likes of Accenture, they're not asked that either. They have a very similar model with people on the bench and how they pull in expertise. It's all about the outputs, the quality of the expertise, the quality of the counsel, and that has no bearing on your geography. Plus, the geographic boundaries, obviously we've got Brexit, the big boundary coming up, but in reality, the cultural boundaries are shrinking. So you could have someone who works for you in Paris who is fluent in French and German and English, who can kind of run your campaign from there. So you don't really need that office presence like you did before, in our opinion, certainly our experience.
And I think maybe clients, our in-house clients are perhaps looking for some sort of hybrid option between, their traditional kind of outsourced agency model and then hiring additional headcount, which they perhaps can't get sign-off for in-house as well. So they need some sort of, option between the two. And our model provides the perfect way to do that because they can engage senior support as and when they need it. We provide virtual teams to a lot of clients, but some of our clients also, rely on those people quite heavily week in, week out. Sometimes it's quite often happens, somebody from one of our clients will go on maternity leave, or we can second someone from our agency into their office for that period of time and then pull them back out again. They'll just go back into the team. Well, again, to do that with a traditional agency is really it might be prohibitively expensive. So it's just accessing that additional support and expertise, whether you need more time, more specialism, whatever it might be, we can provide that through our network.
Yeah,
It's
super
on tap,
flexible.
if you like. Yeah.
And there's room for all of us. So we, as Nikki said at the beginning, we work with agencies as well. And we quite often on a roster with a client where there may be a traditional agency and then maybe us and then there may be someone in-house. So I think people like having that choice and that breadth, I suppose. So that, there is certainly room for all models, I'd say.
And what sort of services do you offer? Is it kind of classic PR, or I'm guessing with the breadth of expertise you have across the world, you can kind of bolt on anything that's related to modern comms?
Yeah, that's the idea. Certainly, when we set up 14 years ago, it was predominantly media relations, content, kind of copywriting. But now, we absolutely could do anything from digital engagement, public affairs, I think you touched on earlier, internal comms, integrated comms, influencer management. There's a whole remit across geographies. I mean, some of those territories will be less advanced than others in terms of what the associate model is there, so what the associates can offer. But certainly, yes, that's the ideal, is that we can do all of that.
And are there any kind of sizes of companies or sectors or specialisms where this model works best, or could you literally go and work for anybody, do you reckon?
I think it works in every sector. There are certain sectors that perhaps might be the exception, which are very regulated. For example, healthcare is a good example.
Right, okay.
I think in terms of size of company or brief, a very large brand which needs a 24/7 press office might not be the account for us, and we might think that might sit better in a traditional agency, and we wouldn't accept or want to go for every opportunity that comes to us as well. Probably the ideal client for us, and the kind of company we might be an ideal partner for, would be a kind of a mid-size organisation which has a really decent budget. We do work with startups where we see they have big potential, obviously. We're a good fit for them. But, a company, which needs access to a very diverse range of experience that we can help by providing a large team and grow that, sort of scale with them as their business grows. Those are the kind of clients that we like to work with and actively go out and look for.
And tech companies, obviously, they get it. They get it because they operate like that. So they totally get how... the model works.
Tech
for them.
companies and tech-enabled companies.
Yeah.
So, for example, Zipcar is obviously, I'm sure we're all familiar with Zipcar, but it's a company that's enabled by tech and underpinned by technology in terms of its app and everything else.
So apart from Zipcar, give me an example each of client work that you're really proud of that's really played to the strengths of the virtual network.
Are we allowed to talk about Zipcar again?
We don't baby. It's her baby.
No, totally.
So I just didn't think who we're allowed to mention, but there's a very large telcos provider that I may not mention by brand, but you could probably guess, which has a really we sit alongside a number of other agencies. They have huge budgets. They have a consumer agency, a B2B agency, a corporate agency, and we handle that regional. I think I mentioned it before, but we were perfectly positioned to provide them with on-the-ground support, whether that be a rollout for a launch or a crisis support, or even just a sanity check, like a pulse check of what the sentiment is in that region. I think that's a really strong play for us. And another big consumer tech brand, very popular with teenagers, they used us to enter a new market completely, which for them was a really a bit of a risk, I suppose, in some ways, but it's played off massively because we were able to kind of enable them to get to a different audience and to perhaps access some more niche, because I think what our people bring is an expertise that perhaps you might not get in a traditional agency, so maybe a niche focus.
Right.
We were able to open up for them as well. Any other brands?
And with that example as well, I mean, we're talking anonymously, but that's a good example because that's a client that we've worked with in, a large country in Europe, and they needed support or wanted support in a couple of different cities in that country, and that would be, again, quite difficult for a traditional agency because they might just have an operation office in one city, whereas we can, we have freelancers all over the place, and that has been successful, that program, and we've now expanded that into a couple of other countries in Europe as well, and that's how we tend to grow our accounts. We'll start in one market. Obviously, it might be the UK, and then we add on from there. Or it might be, which often happens, tech firm coming over from the UK, coming over from the US into Europe, wanting to expand their footprint. So again, they might start in Germany and France. That's often the brief that we get, and then we might add on UK, Italy, and so on from there. So they need to see if it works, see if they like it, and then we will add on and grow the business.
Another one which kind of plays to our strength of really teamwork, I suppose, is where we act as a hub. So we don't do the UK, but we run the European hub for this large American tech firm, and we manage some of our people across the ground as some of their existing legacy people. So we won this last year as well. And that was a really nice one because we get how to run networks. We run a network. Yeah. We run the PR network. So it was really nice for us to bring in and work with the existing legacy accounts, work with, our compadres in the UK as well. And I think it showed that kind of knowledge we built up in terms of running a really good team works, even if it's not our team. We can still do that.
Yeah.
I'll just talk about one more example where we can actually name names because it might be
that would be great. NDAs everywhere.
Have to be that secret. Yeah, no, we've worked with Toyota GB for quite a few years now, and we're really proud of that. And that's quite an interesting engagement model in that they hired us to provide support in a couple of different areas of their business. So one was the kind of luxury side with the Lexus brand, so we support on that with one associate who's got fantastic experience in that area. And the other is that in their kind of technology side of things and really trying to help them gain some leadership, sort of thought leadership on that side. So we put together a team of 2 associates, and we've kind of flexed that up and down as people, as the in-house team has changed as well. But we signed a new agreement last year for another 2-year contract, which I think will take us to 5 years by the end of that. So that's a kind of an in-source model, if you like, because the team there does work quite often on site in Epsom with Toyota, the Toyota HQ, to kind of support the in-house team. So it's quite slightly different. It's not like working with an agency where they have a big office in London and you go to the agency and then you go back to your office again. Our people go in and out of the office in a kind of, but they're working through the PR network, with their agency for those areas of their business.
It sounds like you've got a really close relationship with your clients. It sounds like they are using you as genuine counsel, even where looking at other agency relationships is concerned. I mean, do you feel that you're kind of closer to the nub of what's going on in a company than maybe an agency would be, a traditional agency?
Yeah, because I suppose sometimes you're talking about team as well. So sometimes you're talking about how to bring that fit into their business, and that's quite close. That's not an agency and client relationship. That's like a team. So when you're providing people, like Nikki talks about that kind of in-source model, that needs to really work. So you have to know that person really well, or at least have really frank discussions about what is going to fit there. So as I talked about alchemy earlier, that cultural fit for us is as important as that kind of skill set, that kind of expertise, I suppose.
And talking about that expertise and that talent, tell me a bit more about how you find the right people. What makes a good PR network associate?
Well, we've built the network pretty much exclusively on referral. Right. So obviously there are a lot of PR freelancers in the UK and the world. We don't necessarily want to work with all of them. We want to work with the best people. And so we chose from the beginning, rather than go out and advertise and say, are you a freelancer? Would you like to join our network? We've very much gone out kind of through people that we know. And that did mean for the first year or two that actually we were turning away briefs because we just didn't have that right fit. So we decided on what would make a perfect PR network associate. They need to have minimum 10 years experience in some area of PR or comms, whatever that may be. They need to come on referral. They need to come with references, which we will take up on the point of working with people. But I suppose beyond that, they need to fit our kind of culture and ethos, and they need to. We need to get a feeling that they'll work in the same way as George and I and the rest of our team. We've all come out of big agencies, and we know how we have high expectations of the way that we want to work, and we need our associates to work in that way as well, while giving them free rein to work in their own way. We certainly don't need to, or want to hold their hands or tell them what to do, but they need to represent us in the right way. So we do. So part of it's kind of, we have a checklist. Do they fit those? And then beyond that, when we interview them, we need to get a sense for, are they PR network people? And we do quite a lot of worked to try and build a community of freelance consultants that we feel, work in the way that we are happy with, and that we're giving something back to them. Because something that I found as a freelancer, which is another reason for setting up the business, is that I'm a sociable person. We tend to be quite sociable animals in PR. I liked working for myself and having the control, but I didn't like the isolation, the loneliness, no water cooler moments. I found it quite boring, peaks and I didn't like the peaks and troughs, ebb and flow of work. So we've tried to build a community where we have events for our consultants. We try and communicate them regularly. We've got a small sort of core group of people that we love working with, who we think are very loyal to us. And I suppose one more point I would make, which comes back to your earlier point about why clients like our model, something else we offer is that our people are in it for the long haul. They're vested in their clients and in their work, because obviously you're only so good as your last project. They're not going to leave, whereas that's something that clients don't like. They spend a lot of time briefing people and engaging with them and buying into them, but ultimately those people don't belong to that employer. They belong to themselves, and they may move on. Whereas our consultants, some of them have been with us since the beginning, 14 years.
Think of my other
Nikki. Probably not working on any clients for 14 years, because our clients have been bought and sold and all the rest of it. I don't think we've had any for that long, maybe six or eight. But
probably Nicky's been in our network for that long.
Not Nikki, I'm talking about clients. But Nikki Helvey, we can probably name. She was probably one of our
my
first,
other Nikki. I like to call her. But so we've had some fantastic people that have been with us for a really long time, and it is, I think Nikki says we're all people, aren't we, in PR? And I think you just get a gut feel. You do get a gut feel, and also it's not for everyone, this way of life either, as you say. So that's
you need to find that out. We try and get a sense of, are people committed to for the long term? Are they just joining our network for 5 minutes while they before they go and find a permanent job? If so, we obviously can't put them on our client accounts, because that's, we need to give clients the longevity.
And keeping it real, what are the downsides? Because this all sounds like idyllic, like a perfect solution.
Downsides of running a business, or downsides of working in this way?
What are the potential downsides, or the real challenges of having a virtual agency rather than a fixed, permanent, something more traditional?
I think all of agency, the issue probably that everyone has is talent. But I suppose what we have is, as we talked about it, we perhaps, over some of those years, there hasn't been the scope of freelance consultants that there are maybe at the minute. So I suppose that could be one issue over the last 14 years. What would you say? Culture?
I mean, we haven't talked very much about our core team. We've talked a lot about our associates. We do have a fantastic core team of people who've been, just to name check them. James has been with us since 2010. He joined. We worked together at Citygate for many years, so he's our MD. Then we have Russ and Eileen, who are our client service directors, UK and internationally, and then Katie, who's just joined us from Golin, and Harriet, who's our finance
we couldn't
director.
Live without Harriet.
And we try and get together as often as we can face to face, but people are all over the UK. George mentioned Eileen's in Cornwall. We have someone in Nottingham, someone in Essex, Bath, all the rest. I'm in Surrey, like you, Maya. George is in Tunbridge Wells. So it perhaps would be better if we could come together face to face as a team a little bit more often. To bounce ideas around. I mean, we did all get together yesterday. I couldn't because one of my children was ill. The juggle is real.
The juggle is real.
But we do try. And I would say, obviously, some things are better solved quickly over a conversation than having to do it on Slack or email or trying to get on a conference call that you try 5 attempts and use different platforms and it still doesn't happen. Obviously some things that, so that is, I would say, a real downside. It's one of the only downsides.
What gets you guys up in the morning though? What keeps you kind of passionate? You've been doing this for a long time, obviously fits really well with your lives and your families, but what are you both still kind of passionate about in terms of driving this business forward?
I think we're really proud of where we've got to date, from a nugget of an idea in an Aylesfield bar. I think also having each other, that being really cheesy, I think we have a really good, really strong partnership that actually there's times when one has carried the other. We've had, all sorts. And I think that for us...
Five babies.
5 babies.
15 years, a few dogs.
An Italian Riviera wedding.
Let's talk about that.
But I think that really, when I look at other friends who do things different, I think having each other has been a really brilliant thing and actually kept kept everything going when times are hard. I think at the minute, what gets us up and going, we're really passionate about what we do. We think we can make this a huge success, even bigger than it is. I think also, for me personally, I think you as well, is flying the flag for like having flexible working or a blended approach. Like, I just really believe, I'm a mum of 3 girls, and I really believe that there are other ways of working that work for you. And it's not perfect. It's never perfect, but life isn't perfect. You know, I'm always like, you know, saying, yes, Clemmy read her book when maybe she hasn't. But
we've all signed off the reading record.
Not Nikki, she's a daughter of teachers.
I've never done that.
But you know, it's not perfect. But you can have a chance at doing it all. And I do feel like that is because we have some control on how we work. We do this job share, and I'm really passionate about that, as you are, Nikki. Like, why aren't there more job shares? It's a no-brainer. Like, we work 3 days each, and we've changed over 14 years. We've done, one's done the first half of the week, one's done the second half of the week. We both worked together. We both worked differently, independent weeks. We've done it all different ways, and I'd love to see more people do that. If that's the one thing that I could change in the world, would be that more women had the opportunity to have a job share. And for employees, you get 2 for the price of 1. I mean, who doesn't love a bog off? I mean, it's perfect. All these amazing, brilliant women leave the industry because it doesn't work. Childcare's really expensive, commute's really tough. It doesn't work.
And I think another reason for that, for people leaving, is that, you know, it's not because an agency environment isn't right for the people. I think agencies try really hard, most of them, to keep fantastic senior women once they've had children. I think, and it's not necessarily the client's fault either, because clients don't mind as long as they're getting what they need when they need it. I think the issue is that, you know, it doesn't work with the traditional billing model to have, you know, 2 senior people available all week or round the clock. So you tend to just have, you know, whoever's running an account, they might be, once they've had children, they come back and maybe they're working 4 days a week or 3. Well, that means there's a day a week when that person who's at the top of the account isn't around. And so agencies worry about that, clients worry about that a little bit, and then things happen on that day, and that person probably still has to pick up the slack. Whereas my point is that, you know, if more agencies and more in-house, you know, more companies considered a job share, it doesn't necessarily cost any more money, and then you have that senior person. And this is something we've tried to enable through our model by putting these, we're talking about a lot about women now, but putting people together who might have other responsibilities. So across the week, you know, every day there is somebody senior enough to take a client call or handle a problem, or to speak to a junior, you know, if it's in an agency, speak to a junior, solve a problem. You don't have that gap, and I think that issue when you're working in a sort of high stress environment, like, you know, in the world that we work in with clients, in a client service environment, I think that is part of the reason why people leave, and it's a shame. And I think we love that about our business, that we've enabled lots of fantastic people to continue working without a compromise on the work that they're doing or who they're working with.
It's as close to a solution as I've heard, to be honest. You know, I'm in the same boat myself, and it's hard juggling it. And you know, you do 4 days a week, as I've done in previous jobs, and it's not 4 days a week. It's 6 days.
Well, you might get paid for 4.
You get paid for 4, and it's, you know, it's more days than that packed into 4. It's not 4 days.
It's a problem for those even who don't have children yet. So Nikki and I also job share we're on the committee for the women in PR, and we run their mentoring program at the minute, which is fantastic. We really enjoy it. It's really rewarding. We choose 15 deserving applicants to match them with 15 senior female leaders in our industry. And so many of those applications cite that they're worried. Either they have children, they don't know how they can continue, or they worry about having children and continuing in this career. And so it's something I think, as people, as we are in our industry, we can address it. I mean, then we can tell the rest of the world how to do it properly, but we should be able to. It's predominantly a female industry, but not at the top.
Yeah, the female talent graveyard, as they call it, is pretty large, isn't it? And it really shouldn't be.
Or the mommy trek, as they call it in the States. You get mommy trekked when you come back, because you're never going to.
No, it's a shame. And obviously, then that impacts or contributes towards the gender pay gap.
I mean, it's a completely circular. It's completely circular.
So that I suppose gets us up. Is that trying to a little bit of role modelling maybe. Let's make the job share the thing.
So tell me about the future. Tell me about the future of your business and where you think virtual agencies are going to go. How scalable is it? How big can you get?
I think the category's growing all the time.
Yeah, I think there's no reason why the growth opportunity isn't isn't infinite in that, we're certainly not constrained by who's on our payroll. We have this large network as to other virtual, the other virtual agencies in our group. I mentioned there are 12 and they're in all different areas of transport, environment, healthcare,
comms,
business, whatever. And they're developing their own networks. Obviously, they're most of them are sort of a little bit earlier on in their development than ours. But, it's all about, as long as you can access the right people in the right way at the right time for the client, at the budget, in response to whatever budget they have, then there's no reason why it can't scale. And that's why, George and I have been able to scale our business, because we've built a team around us. So it's George and I, and then we have this fantastic management team, and beyond that, this network. So if you can tap into that, actually there's no constraint, particularly now that, the world is changing, the world of work is changing, geographical boundaries are removed, clients are more open to working in a different way. So why not, we don't see, we've got quite ambitious growth targets. So we've got a 5-year plan that we're working on, and it's certainly would see us growing in the same way as we have over the last couple of years.
As I say, international. So coming back to where do we see it next? I think international is probably the biggest pull. Certainly, if we're looking at what's happened over the last few years for us, that's going to be huge.
Well, watch this space, everybody. The opportunity is infinite, apparently. Nikki and George, thank you so much for coming in to talk to us in the Echo Chamber today about virtual agencies. It's been absolutely fascinating and lovely to have you on board. Thanks very much.
Thank you.
Great to be here.
You've been listening to the Echo Chamber. Brought to you by the Holmes Report and produced by Marketeers. Sponsored by the Bullet Group, putting you in tomorrow's conversations today.